Hi guys. So today we're going to talk about being kind to ourselves, which is really funny because in kindergarten we are all taught that we have to be kind to each other. But I don't think anybody really, I know that I wasn't ever taught to be kind to myself. I don't think that anybody is ever, we don't really, the way that we learn how to love ourselves is by the interactions that we have with people, by how our parents raise us, and stuff like that. So, and I know that for the majority of us out there, it was hard. It was hard to love yourself because of, like, maybe your parents loved and adored you, and then we all get to a certain age, and then the world is more of the influence than our parents. So yes, it's wonderful to have loving parents as you're growing up in your formative years and your childhood years, but we all get to that point where the world is influencing us and the matrix is influencing us and the social medias and you know, now it's hard for kids, even more so now, I think, than from my generation. Like, I'm Gen X, like right at the end of Gen X. So, yes, it was difficult back then and for a whole lot of different reasons, but now these kids these days have all this social media pressure to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to have a certain lifestyle, and they're programmed and conditioned to believe that they're not good enough if they can't produce all of this, or if they're not lucky enough, quote unquote, lucky enough to be famous or to be rich or to have all of the contacts and all of that, then, you know, who are they? What's the point? So it's really interesting as we get older and we start to realize just how much the world taught us to not love ourselves, for who we inherently are. And Friday is Venus Day. Venus rules Fridays. It's beautiful that Venus rules Fridays. I think that's, you know, it's so, just feels right to end the week on a Venus Day, I guess. So, today, I want you to find something about yourself that's natural about you. Like, I was looking in the mirror, I was curling my hair this morning, and I have a whole bunch of natural gray hairs here everywhere. Like, I mean, I'm in my 40s, so of course I'm going to have gray hair. And there was a time in my life where I would have scrambled, oh my gosh, the first sign of a gray hair, I would have scrambled to get my hair colored. Yeah, it's, you know, and sometimes I'd even do over-the-counter box hair colors, which is just like really just strips your hair of its natural vibrancy, right? And this morning when I was looking in the mirror, I was just like, I'm just so glad that I have allowed myself to embrace the natural progression of getting older, and which is not easy to do. When you have to relearn how to love yourself. And we have to relearn how to love ourselves because, again, the world tells women all the time that growing old is not graceful, that we must cover it up, right? So I want to challenge you guys today on this Venus Day to find something about yourself that you love about yourself, and something that's natural, something that you can genuinely say, I truly love this part of who I am, and give yourself that kind of proper attention. I think that we don't do that enough. We're not kind enough to our own hearts. So and it sounds silly, like, to be kind to your own heart, but when you don't truly know what real love feels like, one of the first things that you do is to learn how to be kind to yourself. And it's not even about taking the bath, and it's, I've said this before, for you guys that have watched me for a while, I talk about quite often how self-care isn't just about the things that we can do for ourselves on the outside. It's about the way that we are speaking to ourselves, the conversations that we have with ourselves. Are we sitting in quiet moments of loving reflection, or are we beating ourselves down? Are we telling ourselves lies because the world told us so? And that's really hard to do. So, it's really hard to relearn how to love yourself. Some of us are learning for the first time how to love ourselves. And so being kind to your heart, being kind to your mind, being kind to your energy is going to really help that. And part of being kind to yourself is not judging yourself. We don't want to judge ourselves. Judgment can be done in a positive way. Remember that you're only in competition with yourself. And so truly, if you're judging yourself or you're judging another person based on the way that you think that they should be acting or reacting to a situation, or whatever it is, whatever they're wearing or whatever they're saying or whatever they're driving or whatever they're drinking, like, we have every opportunity to judge other people all day long. But judgment is a direct separation from love. So every time you choose to judge yourself, or every time you choose to judge another person for something that in your perception, whatever the judgment is good or bad, every time you choose to judge, you are separating yourself from your own natural essence of love. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means. I have my fair share of times where I judge. It's such a subconscious behavior that I don't even know that it's possible that anybody can 100% fully get rid of judgment, period. I'm going to do my best, and that's all we can do, right? So recognizing that it's not about, don't judge yourself when you judge somebody, right? Don't be like, oh crap, I was such a bad person. I said that and I didn't mean it and I was such a bad person. It's fine as long as you recognize what you're doing and you stop yourself in that moment and you say, all right, I'm not going to fall back into an old pattern of beating myself, of judging myself, right? Because it can be a vicious cycle. If we continue to do that to ourselves over and over and over again, it can be a vicious cycle. I always find myself judging people by their driving skills. And I've talked about this before. And but also the other thing is, when we are judging other people, chances are it's because there's something about that person that has triggered a part of ourselves that needs to be healed. Even if you don't know who the person is, even if it's a perfect stranger. Maybe they are listening to a particular song in their car really, really loud, and it's super obnoxious to you. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this person is listening to this crap music. I want you to stop yourself and ask yourself why, first of all, are you creating this negative image of somebody that you don't even know because they're listening to a song just because you don't particularly listen to it yourself or care for it yourself? Is it because the song is offensive to you, or do you think that, like, really break it down, really allow yourself to look at those judgmental things that you think and say. And this is that shadow work, right? If you haven't heard of what shadow work is before, shadow work is the things that we don't particularly like to share with other people about ourselves. Those little nuances that we sort of keep close to ourselves, like the things that you wouldn't readily show a first date. Even sometimes we have partners and marriages for years, and there are still things about ourselves that we hold very close to ourselves because we don't want to share with other people. Like maybe you have a certain addiction, maybe you are judgmental, just things, right? That we, but it goes all the way down to the words that you're using, the phrases that you're saying, the way that you react to certain situations. And so looking at all of those really deep, dark parts of yourself outside of judgment, without judging yourself, looking at them and just accepting that they even exist is a really, really big step to healing yourself. And I actually gave a workshop to my members. A lot of my members were a part of a workshop this last summer for shadow work. And I think that I'm going to end up doing that again sometime this summer. It'll be part of the LoveSoul series. There is a workshop on Sunday for the LoveSoul series for just, the full embodiment of self-love and learning how to do that. And it's just so very important that we allow ourselves to look at every single aspect of who we are, and we allow ourselves to look at different perspectives from even other people's angles and other people's perspectives, because when you become really, really aware of every single thing that you're doing and superset your intentions to do every single thing through the essence of love every single day, and being kind to yourself and no judgments, and really opening yourself up to receive also, right? That's when things start to change in your life, but it's hard to do that when we have been shown how miserable the world can be sometimes, and to make us. And it's not even about being in a good mood every single day. And it's not even about being super optimistic all the time. It's not even, I know some of the most pessimistic people that chose to love themselves one day and changed their entire life. One of the most pessimistic people that I know did that just recently. And I was like, that's amazing. What the pure intention of love can do. But when you're judging yourself and you're being too hard on yourself and you're being unkind to yourself, you're separating yourself from that essence of love that you were naturally born with. So, getting back to that first part of you and realizing that you deserve love. You deserve to be loved, to receive love, and to be able to give love freely. I don't know how many of you have noticed in your life that it's hard to love some people. Some people just will not allow us to love them. And mainly because they don't love themselves. They don't love themselves enough to understand what love actually truly means. And the reality of it is quite frightening for them. So oftentimes, I'll tell people, heal yourself. So when somebody does want to love you, that you're open to receive that, because you won't be open to receive love until you have learned fully how to love yourself. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me again for a few minutes. I would love to see you in the LoveSoul workshop.